Hello, my name is Frank Cohen, and I am going to be walking you through this brief tour of the AuditTrakker application. The AuditTrakker is a complete audit management, tracking, and analytics application that is integrated into our risk-based audit program, the Compliance Risk Analyzer, or CRA. The AuditTrakker picks up where the CRA lets off with regard to the creation and reporting of the risk-based audit plan. Now, here what you can see is it's developed an audit plan for this organization. And what it's done is identified the top 5 risk events or encounters or procedure codes modifiers for that particular provider. And this practice is chosen through their compliance plan that they're going to review 20 encounters or 20 claims or charts per individual provider for high and medium risk, and then 10 for low or no risk. So this is our point of entry into the AuditTrakker system. So we take a provider, let's say this one, and we click on that provider name, and it takes us into a screen that now shows us all of the claims associated to that provider that contains one or more of these particular procedure codes or modifiers that have been selected as risk. So you can go down, you could pick these claims one at a time if you want to. What most people will do is they will use our claims selection or sampling procedure. You can either select a convenience sample, which is a non-probability, non-statistical sample, or let's say you want a statistically valid random sample. You can do that, and you can say we're going to do it without replacement or with replacement, it doesn't matter. So we want one or more of these claims represented for each of the individual procedures. And then what I can do is I can assign those to a particular reviewer, and I can assign just the primary code that's being investigated, or I can assign all of the lines of that claim to that reviewer if that's what you're interested in doing, is reviewing all of them. I just click on Assign to Reviewer, and then I can go into the AuditTrakker and come up under My Audits. And what that will do now is produce all of those particular claims and line items sorted by the MRN number that we have selected now for audit and review. So let's go ahead and open one of these up and take a look at how the audit might be conducted. So we're going to take an E&M code here. And what you'll see is that it's pre-populated with the provider ID or name and the category and the procedure code and the review date. We've assigned it to this particular reviewer, the MRN and patient ID number if you want that, date of service. And then you can determine who coded this. Was it an EHR system, a coder, a physician, or whatnot. And then you can conduct your audit. So you could go through each of the individual E&M components. You could identify if there's any particular problems or issues anywhere. You can add a note from a library that you can build your library, or you can freehand these in, whichever works best for you. Now you'll notice that the diagnosis codes, if they're there, are also imported so that you can do any type of analytics or auditing on the ICD codes as well. If it's an E&M code, you could also choose to use our Emm Scoring Algorithm. So we would select here established patient, go through and fill out the history. It would give you each of the individual levels with a total history level. You could do both a 95 physical exam as well as a 97 physical exam, and fill in the medical decision making. And if it's a procedure where more than 50% is tied up in counseling or coordination of care, you could do that here as well, which would override it. And then this will pick the level of service for you. So this was coded as a 99214. According to the wizard, it would be a 99212 under the 95 guidelines, as well as a 99212 under the 97 guidelines. Then you would go ahead and you could pick the medical necessity level, and you could determine whether or not this code was coded properly. Did it meet documentation requirements or not? Was it under or over coded or some other problem? And did it meet medical necessity? Then you would just simply save, and you would go through and do this again. Now you can print this form if you want for your records. And as is with most all of the the information that you'll see here within the program, you're able to either save it as a PDF or in many cases export it to a Microsoft Excel file as well. Now, after all of the charts or claims have been completed, after the audit itself is done, the next most natural process is to take a look at the summary of the results for those audits. We could do a pass-fail analysis or pass-fail summary report. And what it does is it goes through, and again, there's lots of filters up here, so I could just isolate this to a particular specialty if I want to, or a particular reviewer if I want to. And it goes through now and it shows me all of the providers that have had reviews and what the total number of reviews were for those particular providers. So I could pick one, any one. I'll pick this provider 50, the first one, and I click on the provider name. And now what it does is it brings up a detailed report of just the findings for that particular provider, because I'm going to use this now for education and remediation for that given physician or NP or PA or whatever it is. So it goes through and it starts, it gives me my precision rating overall, and then it does it for just the E&M codes, just for the non-E&M codes, for the modifiers as well, and then of course it'll give me the same information for the ICD codes, which will show me the reasons that there were problems and the precision rating for those. All right, so let's say we've done this now, we've gone and done some education and remediation. And what we have is we have an audit activity report that you can go through, and what it will do is it will identify for you or tell you all of the audits that have been performed during a particular period and who did those audits and on which provider those audits were reported. And again, you can save this as a PDF file or export it to Microsoft Excel. And once we've completed this and we've done our review, then what we want to do is we want to be able to identify which audits are due next. Right? So remember, if we have results that perhaps are poor, a pass rate of say less than 80%, we may want to review that provider's coding on a quarterly basis. Or if it's under 70%, maybe we want to do it on a monthly basis. Or if it's less than that, maybe it's a pre-bill. And if it's more than 90%, maybe we just do it once a year. So what this does is it allows you to have a workflow where you can schedule when that next audit is due for that particular provider. All right, so we've done this. We've gone through now and we've done our second set of audits on that provider. And now what we want to know is, has that provider improved or gotten worse, their pass-fail rate after the education and remediation and training? So what we do is we go to the audit pass rate trend. Now remember, what we're trying to do here more than anything is develop an ROI of sorts. We spend a lot of money in our compliance budgets for auditing, education, remediation, and when we're done, what we'd like to know is, did it make a difference? Did it do any better or any worse? So I can go through here, for example, and see that this provider, let's take provider 181, started with 100% and ended up at an 83.3%. We might want to know what happened that this particular provider got worse. So again, the whole system is heuristic. It's one click away from just about anything. That's how the program is designed, with a great user interface that we hope is as efficient as possible. So if I click on that given provider, what it will do now is it will come back and show me the same detailed information for that particular provider. Remember, each individual page of this report shows the details for those particular findings. So I can go through here and see whether, like in this case, a 99215, it didn't meet. It should have been a 99214 instead. And once again, you can export these to Adobe Acrobat as a PDF file, or an Excel worksheet, or a Word document, or whatever you need to do in order to make these presentations as effective as possible. So once we've completed our reports, maybe we've presented to leadership, we've done education remediation, we've identified those physicians that are having problems, maybe we do more education and more remediation, we can go back to another trend report until we're satisfied with the results that we have. We also then want to maybe move into some analytics. So what I can do is I can look at all of these chart audit issues that we've had by issue, by provider, by specialty, even by reviewer. Let's say I want to look at these by specialty, for example. It's going to come up with a basic graphics. It's going to show me, for example, that E&M overcoded by 1 level is my biggest problem that I have here. The second might be, in this case, medical decision making, or the ICD code, we're in the incorrect sequence. And then each additional page of this report pulls up that particular specialty and goes through and shows all of the issues that were identified with that specialty associated to the code category, the number of charts review, and the number of issues found. And on the last page, what I end up with is a summary report of all of this. So for example, I can see that dermatology had 0.57 issues per chart, for example, while hematology had 3.5. So as a manager, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reallocate resources to, say, hematology and away from maybe endocrinology or dermatology, where they don't seem to have the same degree of problems. You can also use the AuditTrakker for doing audits that are unrelated to the risk assessments that are found within the CRA. And we do this through what are called the audit projects. So you can go in and assign a particular project. Let's say it's a TPE, or you're getting a RAC audit, or there's a ZPIC and a UPIC. And some of our clients, for example, all new physicians have all of their charts reviewed for the first 90 days. So maybe this is a project for that provider. So for example, in this case, they're auditing 99223s for the second quarter of 2017 for whatever reason. So what it does is you can go in and identify all the information for that particular audit, log all that information into it, and then you could select which claims you want to audit. So even if they're not in the CRA, they can be imported into the program, and then you could select those and you can go through and do those audits. You end up with whatever your findings are. You can identify and provide what your findings are. And if there's any documents associated to it, letters or responses or emails, whatever, those can also be added in, so you can have a complete library, complete management process, management function for this particular audit. Now, while the AuditTrakker will do a lot more than this, this is not a training session. This is just a brief demo or a walkthrough of it. So I'd like to thank you for taking a look at this. If you'd like to review it yourself, you can go to www.complianceriskanalyzer.com. That's our website. And you can click on this Take a Tour. And that will bring you into the actual compliance risk analysis program. And then if you want to, you can then go ahead and run through this demonstration yourself live, and you can change things and play with stuff and get the opportunity to see whether or not you're comfortable with how the program works. And I want to thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, of course, please feel free to contact us at www.complianceriskanalyzer.com. Thank you very much.